Did you look at it? Did you check the paper?
Yes, doctor.
So, yeah, good. So, that's the kind of paper I expect you to find for your final project. We will finish coding of MATLAB for first part, I mean for fuzzy logic, and how to set up a fuzzy logic project in MATLAB and use it and run it. We will finish it in 1 or 2 sessions. Then I will talk to you about fuzzy clustering, and we will also learn about where's the card again? Not card. There's no card. It's titled as sample paper for project started on the course page of artificial intelligence. And we will learn also about fuzzy clustering. Okay. And as I said before, most of your grade in this course is based on projects. So that's why I ask you to do. You must read it thoroughly, try to code it, and prepare a report for your coding. Because if I will ask you for individual 10-minute report handouts, person by person. I will ask you, for example, you have to print the paper you select as a PowerPoint presentation, and also the way you coded, and also your manuscript. I will ask you questions on both manuscript and on paper itself. So you have to read the paper, you have to select the paper, read it, prepare a PowerPoint presentation for that, and also code the paper in MATLAB platform. Each part has a special grade. Did you understand?
Yes, doctor. Can you please show us, because you only sent the paper and there is no any code sample. Are you
Azil,
going to use if you find a test paper?
I will show you how to code a fuzzy logic project and also a clustering project on MATLAB in this session and in the next sessions. After I tell you how to code for example, code a fuzzy logic project, a fuzzy logic problem in MATLAB, which commands to you, which steps to go through, then I expect you to code the paper. I won't
Oh,
ask
okay, all
you
right,
for
doctor.
anything if I don't teach you.
Okay, doctor. Because I have sent papers to yesterday to you, so I was waiting to see what is the next step.
Sorry, I didn't understand what you said.
I said I sent the paper you asked on your mail, so I did not hear last time about the codes. So now I know that we should code it before.
I do it. I'm going
I
to.
don't know if
That's why I'm insisting on coding in MATLAB. Even the basic steps, for example, the basics that you need to learn. Because if I ask you, it's not fair to ask for what I haven't learned you. I haven't teach you. It's not fair to ask for that. I don't expect you to learn on your own. And my only expectation is to learn what I really teach you, but I have put all my efforts to teach you. Mera, I don't know. I haven't used downloaded version of MATLAB yet. I've never used the download version of MATLAB. We have DVDs here. We pay for them, we buy them and install them on our PCs. But students of yapay zeka, I mean artificial intelligence in Turkey, said that there is a Waymo trail version for MATLAB. So my that wait for me to teach you all the details, find the paper, read it, and when you want to code this, then download that trail version. Did you remember what was the last code I talked about? We talked about matrix operations, and we also talked about element-wise operations. How to access a special location in MATLAB in a matrix. We talked about for loop and if set of rules. No, I didn't talk about while in this group. I talked about if statement, yes, Sami, but I just talked about if and for. While is left today. So let's have a review. And first, write a script on if rules, on ifs and for. Then we are going to learn about while, and after that we are going to learn about functions and how to call them and use them in scripts. Okay, so first we are going to talk about the distance of a point from the origin and label it according to three labels. We are going to find a label, we are going to find a point, calculate its distance, and then classify it into three groups according to its distance. We are going to have a near, somehow, and far. I'm writing here for everyone. We are going to classify, we are going to group our distance into three groups: near, somehow, and far, and assign a label to each one: 1, 2, 3. So let's go. What should we do now? But with the first step I myself usually do in programming is to clear everything and close everything I have done in previous programs. Now, for example, I'm just want to show you what's happening here. This is not demo. I will teach you. I'll talk about this demo. Let it finish. And the result is a figure. Here I will show you a figure and some variables in workspace. Do you see it? We have some variables in workspace. The first step is to clear and close everything. And also I had a figure. CLC, clear all, close all, and clear virus. The first step is to clean everything. Okay? Now, the problem is to ask for a random code and calculate its distance from origin. What does this line in green mean? What does it mean? Why this line changed to green? What does it mean? The percent symbol and some characters appeared in green. We have purple and black characters, and here we have a green character. What does this green line mean? Yeah, a comment line, exactly. Notes, exactly, Myra. Just note to ourselves. Step 1, ask for point coordinates. And I use rand function. Our point, I name it point, is random. For each point, I have two coordinates, 1 and 2. Point as a variable is a matrix of size of one row, and 2 columns. Okay? Now, I want to calculate the distance. I name our variable distance is equal to. What is the distance of a point with coordinates of x, y is from the origin? Do you remember the formula? How we calculated the distance between 2 points? Do you remember? Do you remember? What was the formula to calculate? So, let me write it first, then we will code. Yeah, Israel, that's right. But let me share application again. Let me share the formula again. Here is the formula to calculate the distance of 2 points, between 2 points. Do you see this? Did you see the formula? Did you remember it? Good. Now, we want to code it. Distance is SQRT. sqrt means second root in MATLAB. This is a function, and if you see here, if you type sqrt in help, do you see that the function fx means a function, and it's what this function does. This is how we can use help if you forget the functions. You can if you forget the function syntax, you can type whole or a part of it, and that will help you find the suitable functions for this phrase. Do you see that at the top? How this sqrt appeared? Good. Our function is sqrt of as one of my points is origin. The only thing I do is to write pointer. Points first coordinate 1 and 1. I take it to the power of 2 plus point of 1, 2 to the power of 2. Now I'm going to label my distance into 3 groups. If distance is, for example, bigger than 1, then, and I also forgot to define a variable here. I name it index. Index to show our label. The first value I give it is 0 because it's going to change during the program. Then if index is equal to 1, else if distance bigger than 1 and distance is smaller than, for example, 4, put the index equal to means somehow, else index is equal to 3. Now, as I know, let's check if we need our end or not yet. Did you see? When I typed end here, the first if changed its color. Did you notice the color change? It means that I have to finish, put an end to our function, to our function for and while and for. Let's try our program, run our program. But I received an error. Unrecognized function or variable. Error in line 8. I will move to line 8 and I see instead of point, I have typed pint. Do you see that? And I received an error with the name of function or unrecognized function or variable. Let me change it. And let me change our limits. I want to check everything. See different states. Eight. Now I can check. And also here I made another mistake. distance. Good. The first time, for my first point, as you see, my point's coordinate is given as follows, and my index is 2. Let's give it another try. Again, I received index 2, but this time I received index 3. That's all we did for in if rules, in a set of if rules, how we used if to run our program and to control a flow in our program. Did you remember if? How we used if? Is it clear for everyone? Did everybody remember? Others? Good. Good. Now, we are going to try to repeat our for loops. Next time, I'm going to produce a set of 10 numbers, and from number 2 to number 9, I'm going to add the number itself, the number before, and the number after, and put it in a while. Now, for example, remember, imagine that we have a series of number from 1 till 9 till 10. I'm going to read the points from 2 to 9, and for example, in place of 2, I'm going to put sum of 1, 2, and 3. Is it clear? Because I want you to check indexing here. I have. Sorry, I didn't get semantic text. What do you mean, Azay? You mean reserved words in MATLAB? Words that we cannot use as our variables?
Yes, doctor, as you said.
No, they are not semantic. If we are going to use, for example, if we use a reserved word in MATLAB, we will receive the error that tells us if it's a reserved word and I can't use it as a variable name.
Okay, doctor, I got it. Thank you.
It's not. Thank you. And I have a function of y is equal to 0 size of output. You know what size function does? Size function gives us the dimension of the matrix. Look at here. We usually need it in programming because mainly you will see next script. They are size function is mainly used when you are going to do a task according to the dimensions of your data. So learn size function here. Let's write help size. I typed word help and the name of function. You can look for a function for help by in two ways. First, by typing the word you want in this part of MATLAB work, in this part of MATLAB desktop, as you see here, or you can type help space and the name of the function. Size, here what size does. Size of an array D is size of is for n by n matrix X returns two elements, two row vectors in this form for matrix dimensions. Did you see how I asked for help by using command window instead of using this part? Instead of using top ribbon, you could also look for help here. Now, imagine Rxx is random 4 and 5. If I type M and N, M and N is size of XX, I get two distinct variables, one M, one. Sorry, there was a connectivity issue. Where did I live? Where did I leave? Where I was cut off? At which part? Do you hear me? Do you have my voice? M and N, yes. Okay. Another way to get matrix dimension here is just to name, for example, I'm naming Z is equal to size of XX. Here, you see, I get my matrix dimension as again in a matrix form. Now, let's compare two commands again. Is equal to size XX. Again, I got the number rows and columns as two distinct variables, one named N and the other one named N. I also could try, I can also type Z is the size of XX again. But this time, I get my number of rows and columns as a matrix. Did you see the difference? But as we usually need dimensions separately, I mean the number of dimensions separately, for example, as you will see, I'm going to use it as a controller or anything, I prefer to get my matrix dimensions in the first size. I prefer this one. Okay? I prefer, depending on the program, but I prefer this one. Now let's go back to our program. As you see here, I want to produce a matrix Y whose elements are 0 and its dimensions are of the size of our points. Did you understand up to this point what I did? Is it clear that? Now, that's what I want to do. I will start from the second point of x till the point before n that are the indexes to control my for loop. For I is equal to my beginning point till the column before the end. So the number of columns and also, sorry, I need to separate the rows and columns of x, as I see, you see here, because I will show you now, and is the size of I separated them because I want to do my task, my process, till the column before the last one. So this n gives me the number of my columns, and n minus 1 gives the end of my process, the number of columns before the last one. Imagine that we have, for example, 8 columns. What's the number of, and I want to do my task till column 7. Then 7 is equal to 8 minus 1, n minus 1. If you have, for example, 11 columns, I do my task till point 10, which is 11 minus 1. So that's why I put n minus 1 as the end of my process. Is it clear why I put 2 till end till minus n minus 1? Then I say at the point of I put, then I say y 1 and I say it's 1 and I because we have one row and the other column and some columns. Put x of 1 and I minus 1 plus x of 1 and I plus x of 1 and I plus 1. And let's run our program. You see, I received the error. So instead of points, I change it to x. No, instead of x, I points. But now our value y, you see, is changed. The first time y was equal to a set of zeros. Now I changed it after doing the task. Some of its elements are replaced, but element 1 and element 10 are left. Okay? Let's see what happened if I didn't put that minus 1 here. I want to show you the errors you may face in such dimension matchings and how to help solve them. Sorry. Look at here. Index in position 2 exceeds array's bound. It means that it must not exceed 10. It means that if when I put value I is equal to value I equal to 10, let's check. Y of 1 and 10 is equal to point of 1 and 9 plus point 1 and 10 plus point 1 and 11 as here, but our point has only 10 elements. So it says index in position 2 exceeds. So I put -1 here. And the problem is solved. Did you understand the issue of indexing and how to adjust our for limits? So we reviewed if and for, and now we are going to MLAP, like in. What do you mean, Juicy?
Doctor, I'm talking of like a MATLAB. So I know to spell, or like you said for in your code. Have you changed it? Yeah.
The
For
problem
I
is here.
equals to 2, yes, to I equals I minus 10. So for like you don't increment like
We know we don't need to write such a form. We don't need such a form. That's
so what
enough.
if okay, doctor, okay, no problem.
For example, you see that you can our increment value is not 1. Is there a problem there? Is that your problem?
No, doctor, for this value, for this code, he knows he has to go 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. But I don't know, is it that MATLAB understands that he has to move from 2 to 9 and increment by 1, like go each step? Because you not specify.
Could
What
you
if you
type,
want?
Juicy? I can't understand what you say. Could you type it, please? We don't increment for loop. In MATLAB, we don't increment for loop. Yeah, we can increment it. But this time, our for loop needs to begin at point 1. Now, for example, you are going to do another task. We have a random variable, and we are going to, if we want to, for example, take each value to the power of 2, we need to start from point 1. We can start our I from everything you want, from everywhere you want. But depends on the relation of index of I and what the relation of number of repeats, the number of time, the number of turn we repeat our task to the function we are going to do at each repeat. That's why I started from point 2. For example, if I ask, you can do that. Remove the first one. You can ask from point 1 too. We don't face an issue. Let's see. And we didn't receive any error message here. But all the limitation, all the adjustment in is based on the task we are going to do at each repeat, each cycle, and the relation of number of cycle to what is done in that cycle. That's why we didn't start here in the other examples. Counter by 2. Let's see. 1. Again, we didn't face any problem. we can assign our counter in a way that it goes two-step jumps instead of one-step jumps.
Doctor, please explain the new for line. So the 2 there is for two-step jump or what? I don't understand.
Josie Sami asked how we can increase the counter in two-step. Instead of going jump one by one, we are going to jump from, for example, point 2 to the point of 4. Okay? So, did you remember when talking about producing an array, a uniform series of an array? For example, I said we start from point 1 and move 0.1 steps to, for example, 2. I talked about it in MATLAB at the beginning of the course.
Yes, doctor.
The same is what we can do. Instead of, for example, -1, we can assign my counter in a way for loop 4 in a way that at each point it jumps two steps instead of one step. That's why I put here 2 here. I want to assign the program in a way that it jumps. For example, it begins at the first index 1. Then, instead of going to index 2, it goes to index 3. So instead
Okay,
of
doctor.
one step jump, it jumps 2 steps. That's why I put a 2 here. I put 2 here.
Okay, doctor. That's what I also tried to understand. Thank you.
And I think the command you wrote here, C is 1, Ci is 10, and 1 by 1, is related to C#C, I think.
Yeah, that's why I wrote like in C. Then I gave an example. I'll help you see that like the way they do it in C programming.
Yeah, I did. That's what you do in C. But in MATLAB, you don't need to do that.
Okay, okay. I understand.
A simple thing. Did you understand? Is clear? Is the issue solved? Yeah, now?
Yes, doctor. Yes, doctor. It's clear.
Good. So we reviewed for and if, but sometimes we need to do a repeated task until a special condition is reached. But we don't know when this special condition is reached. Do you remember Fourier series here? Do you remember Fourier series? Have you ever read Fourier series about?
Yes.
Did you pass signals and systems course? Or have you ever read about approximation process? Let me give you another example. Have you ever read about approximation processes? We do a linear approximation. We start from a point and get closer and closer and closer to the desired point. And we don't know where to stop. Just we put an error limit and we try to reach to that error limit. If the difference between 2 points is smaller than an error threshold, we say that we reached that point. Infinite sequences, that stops conditionally. Exactly. That's where we use while loop. We do a task until a special circumstance is reached. We don't know how many times we are going to do that, but we do it until we reach a special threshold, a predefined condition, and so that's where we use our while loop. Do a task, check the condition, do a task till a special condition is met. Repeat the task till a special condition is met. For example, repeat the task till no, let me give. Do you know when children get fevers, what their mothers do? They try to wash their feet and hands with cold water or lukewarm water to decrease the body temperature. Have you ever seen that? When you get cold and your body temperature rises, then your mothers wash your hands and face, mainly feet, with cold water and continually monitor your body temperature till a special point is reached, till your body temperature is decreased. So we say, to repeat washing feet till body temperature is, for example, higher than 37. Do a task while a special condition is met. Here is a demo I prepared before, and I'm going to write another demo right in the class. That's why I did in them. I selected two random points and calculated their distance. And I repeated this task till their distance is bigger than a threshold. When this threshold reaches, I stop. And I also assigned a counter to calculate the number of repetitions, the repeats I did. How many times I repeated this task till that threshold is reached. Did you understand the problem thoroughly? What I did in the script? Did you understand what I did in this script? I produced two random variables, calculated their distances, and repeated this process till their distance is bigger than a threshold. If their distances was bigger than a threshold, I selected two other variables. I selected two other points. Okay. Now, for the first, I assigned my threshold, my loop controller, in a way that it enters the loop. Look at here. I assigned the initial value of threshold as 1, and I assigned my counter to 0. I assigned my weight 1 because my threshold is 0.1. This is 1. I say while this is my condition. While the condition is true, here, enter the loop. Now, my first threshold value, my initial threshold value is assigned to 1. And I say if threshold is bigger than 0.1. So what happens? Does the program enter the loop? Will it enter the loop and do the rest? My initial threshold.
As thresh is 1, I think it will start from 0 and stop by 1. Yeah.
It won't stop because my condition is met. 1 is bigger than 0.1. So now select 2 random variables as I did before, random 1 and 2 and random 1. Thresh is the distance between these 2 points. SQ out of the function distance, as I showed you in the formula, and assign count and increase my counter by 1 step. This time I wanted to increase it by 1. You can increase it by anything you want. And finally, a sprintf shows the number of counts to reach this condition at the screen. Now let's run our program. You see, trail count is 38. Let's repeat another time. Is 40. Another time is 20. Another time is 10. So I could not for loop here because I didn't have a clue on exact number of the trails to reach my condition. When we don't know the exact number of our trails, we must use while loop. Let's give another try. But this time our condition is just in 3 steps. Now, for example, put our threshold as 0.0. Let's see if our counter, our program, enters the loop or not. What do you think? Will it enter the loop? Will it repeat? No, exactly. And let's give this a try. And our trail count is 0, the initial value for our count. Did you understand while loop thoroughly? Is it clear how to use it, where to use it, why we use it?
Yes,
Others, as I for you, Juicy for you, Jada, Mera, all my lovely girls. Good. So be here in 10 minutes. We will work on another example of while loop, and then we will move to function, and I will talk to you about feature extraction processes. Be here in 10 minutes.
Doctor, I have some questions if you would like me to ask it in a chat during this break. Okay.
I'm sorry, there was another connectivity issue here. I'm so sorry for being late. So, is while loop clear for everybody? Did you learn it? Did everybody learn it? Do you have my voice?
Yes, doctor, we can hear you.
Good. Sorry, we are facing connectivity issues. I don't know why today. Now, we learned how to enter our data. We learned about matrices. We learned how to create an M file. All of what I did was in an M file, was for M file, and we learned about controlling tools to control the flow of our program. I mean, while, if, and for. Now, another important block that we need to learn while coding is M file. M files are the functions. Functions are the basis of MATLAB. In functions, do you remember the functions I was using here? I mean square, and size. I used it in these programs I've done before. You remember when we took their name here as fx, that they are of type of functions. Functions are scripts that we are writing with a special arrangement, and we can call and use them anywhere after that. Our tools and our scripts of special kinds to be used in future without any modification. This is the definition of a function. Did you understand what function means and what it does? Why we write functions? Is it clear for everyone that's why we use functions? In MATLAB, we have two kinds of functions. One group is called built-in functions, that they are already defined in MATLAB. You can find their information in library, and you need just to call them anywhere you want. They are already present in MATLAB. They are built-in. They are mounted in MATLAB. And the second type is the second group are the ones that we write on our own. Both do the same task, but if we write on our own, they are not present in MATLAB libraries. We cannot find help for them. So I'm going to write about built-in. I'm going to talk about I'm going to tell you how to make a function of my own. A function with my desired variables and the task I want it to do at the end. In machine learning, but please listen to this part carefully because I'm going to tell about the basic the basis of the script I'm going to test. Listen carefully. In machine learning, what we do, we teach computer to do a special task. Or am I right? That's what we do in machine learning. Am I right? Do you remember the beginnings of that the main purpose of artificial intelligence was to copy human beings' behavior. Do you remember when at the first sessions of the course I was talking about machine learning and said we do artificial intelligence to do the task we expect artificial intelligence to do the task that human does by thinking on using its mind. Yeah, exactly. But when we expect a human to do a task, the first thing we do is teach him or her. We teach him or her. And we do this teaching task by talking about the features. Imagine you are going to talk about orange to a kid. You want to teach the kid, this is the orange. You say, this is a fruit. Its color is orange and it looks like a ball. It's a ball. Or another example that's much more clear. Imagine that you have a blind person by your side and you want to define, for example, a cat to that person. How we define the cat? How can we define a cat? We say it's an animal, it's small, for example, its voice is like meow, it has 2 ears, 2 hands and 2 legs, and so we help that person model the animal by talking to him about the features of that animal, about the features of that object. Am I right? So we need features to model everything. Did you understand what I mean? Others? So, feature extraction task is the first and a crucial step of a machine learning process. If we wanted to solve a problem by machine learning, we need to extract and assign some features to define that information, to define the process thoroughly. And in this example given, I'm going to talk to you about the feature extraction process of a heart signal. You know, I'm of biomedical engineering background, so in this script, that's what I'm going to use. I'm going to first load a 2600 point ECG signal, and then I use a function to do the feature extraction task. So you will both learn about feature extraction process and also creating a function. Is it clear what I'm going to do? Is it clear? Or you wanted me to explain again, to re-explain what I'm going to do? Okay, again, wait a second. I said we need to learn about how to prepare a function, write a function. Yeah? Am I right, Sami? We need to learn writing functions, and we need to learn about feature extraction process as the first step of a machine learning task. In this script, I'm going to do both of them. I'm going to write a function to extract features of a heart signal. Is it clear what I'm going to do?
Yes, doctor, it's clear now.
And I will be sure I will hand the demos to you. I will hand some selected MATLAB scripts to you. So then when you are going to program, you can look at them and understand. I mean M files, not what I did in command window at the first session. Be sure. So, and the data I'm using here is a heart signal. Let's first look at the flowchart of what I'm going to do, and then go back to our lovely MATLAB codes. Do you see the PowerPoint presentation? In this script, that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to first load my data, then do this part, the M file. Here is what I'm going to do inside the M file. Inside the M file, sorry, I mean M file, I continue to say M file, I mean function. And I'm going to do this part in the function. So I can store my function to use anywhere I want after that. Now, for example, I'm going to have an ECG signal, another ECG signal, another EEG signal. I'm going to prepare this function to be ready for any time I want to use, like built-in functions of MATLAB. I'm going to load the data, and then I'm going to do feature extraction as a function. Clear?
So, doctor, if I understand well, this is the part that will help us to write also for the project, right?
Yeah, these are the ones that will help you. If you, it means that if you are going to do your project based on fuzzy classification that I'm going to teach you after that, this is exactly the steps you go through for fuzzy classification. For classification task, you need to extract features first.
Okay, thank you.
This helps you get clear, not so clear. Maybe it's simple example. And if you don't work with and I think you haven't worked with MATLAB, I'm giving you a point. MATLAB is a matter of practice. And I think in my idea, though being so simple, it will help you gain an insight. So that's why I insist on coding in the class. That's why I do the coding in the class, and I don't want to leave the job for you to learn from the beginning. Not clear. It will give you a rough idea, a rough view, but that's better than zero view. Is it clear?
Yes, doctor, it's clear. I got it.
So listen carefully. I will close this demo. And let me name it as AI demo so I won't clear it. Demo 4. And this is the script I want to work. See? As you see, I wrote CS clear all close all at first. And here my script is to load an ECG data and extract 3 features, which are minimum, maximum, and average. Okay? I'm going to do this. I'm going to do the following task. First, I'm going to load the data. Then, I'm going to break this data into 20-point patches, into parts, each of which contains 20 points of this data. And between these 20 points, I'm going to find its minimum, its maximum, and its average. Is it clear what here my features are minimum, maximum, and average of that patch. That series of data points. Is it clear what I'm going to do? Others? Good. So the first step is to load my data. I downloaded this data from PhysioNet. It's a model database for medical signals. PhysioNet, you can search in the Google. I downloaded my data from PhysioNet, and my data was stored in a form of mat with .mat. Imagine a Excel workbook special for MATLAB. my data, if you say .math, you can easily load commands to read it from the stored point into MATLAB. I forgot to leave Let's do a step-by-step running. Select and evaluate the selection. Everything is clear now. The first step is to load my data. I name it InData. And you see, look at here. Do you see the point icon here and the name struct? Do you see them? Our data is stored in the form of one-by-one struct. A struct, imagine, is a higher dimension form of matrix storage. Some other data storage parts are stored in that. Do you see we have folders, we have plastic buttons with we have plastic folders with buttons, and we store them in a bag. Again, we store some of those plastic folders in a bag, and each of those plastic folders is a variable, and our bag is our structure. That's how we can get a view of a struct. Now, if we type here, we want to see the name of variables inside the structures. I type InData. And you see, I saved the file in MATLAB document, in MATLAB folder, my computer. Store all of your data in MATLAB folder. If not, you have to specify the path, and it's troublesome. It will cause you trouble, so store everything in MATLAB folder at first. Then, if not, you have to specify the path, change the path, and it's troublesome. Thanks, Mohammed, for your good point and for your good questions. I remembered me of talking about storage. Thank you very much, my keen student. You see, I typed InData, and InData in here, I saw the name of the fields inside my structure. And structure's name, the field present here is val. So, to access the val, that variable, say, InData2 is equal to the name of a structure, InData, point, name of variable, InData.val. Now, my InData is in the form of a matrix of 1 row and 3,600 points. Here are the dimensions of my data. And I need the size of my data. Again. Now, first I want to visualize my data. And I make an array with increase of 0.1 at each step to prepare my x. This is my x. I put 306 minus 0.1 to map the number of my points and start from origin. Now I'm going to plot my sigma and show you. Do you see that plot? MATLAB figure. You see, it's like a normal heart rhythm. Now, I'm going to break all these pieces. Now, I'm going to do the feature extraction process inside a function. Step 2 is my feature. Look at here. I say wave fit, feature of my waves is equal to wave fit extract. Wave fit extract. This is the name I selected for my function. Keep in mind, this is selecting the name for your functions is optional. You can choose any word you want, unless they are reserved words of MATLAB. One of you asked, I think Azail, it was you who asked about reserved words. Who asked for the reserved words before break? It was one of you.
Doctor, my network doesn't. I didn't understand the question.
Who asked about the reserved words in MATLAB? It was you or Juicy, one of you was.
It was me. I asked if it was semantic.
Yeah.
Or something like that.
So, exactly. This is, you can select anything for any name for your function if it's not a reserved function or is the name of a built-in function in MATLAB. For example, now you cannot name it a square tab. If you name it a square tab, it will look for a square tab function of MATLAB, not for the one, a square tab built-in function of MATLAB, not the one you prepare. So be careful about the name. And the name here must have the same name as the script you saved your function in. You see, wave extract and wave fit extract. Naming is so important. Did you understand? You have to write the name, the same name as you put for your script. You save your script on that. Now, let's go inside the script. And you see, we have in data. I mean that. Go and call the function and give in data as its variable. Now let's look inside the function. Here is my script, which has the same name as I used to call, and this is a function. The first thing which helps MATLAB distinguish that our script is a function is the name function itself. We type function, we put an end to it, and now in front of the function we have such an expression: output of the function, name of the function, parentheses, input of the function. We can have more than one function, one input and more than one output for input. So we put brackets, we separate them with commas. For example, now I want to have the mean. And we can have any number of inputs. Again, we separate them with commas. For example, you can write them here. But in my function, I need just one input. and just one out. So I'm erasing this one. Did you understand how to separate, how to add more than one input and more than one output? Now, this student, you see, here I named my input as InWave, but in a script, in parentheses, I put InData. So the name of input in the function and the name of the input in the script don't have to be of the same name. The only thing that has to be the same name, it has to carry the same name in function script, and when calling it, is the name of the function itself. Wait with extract, and here is the name of my script. You understand? So mapping between input name and output names is not necessary, but function must have the same, must be the same. Now, these are the steps I'm going to do for my feature extraction. As I said, I'm going to break my data into 20 points pieces, and for each 20 points, I'm going to extract 3 values. The first step, I want to calculate, yes, so which controller I should use here? I should use for, while, or if. Which I should use? For, while, and if. Which one I'm going to use? While, if, Mohammed. You know, we have, yeah, exactly, for. I wrote it here, but why for? Listen to me. We have a constant number of points, and we are going to do our task for a repeated number of times. As you say, we are going to extract 20 point pieces and repeat the process until these points are finished. So, as the number of our data is constant, and we can easily calculate the numbers we are going to repeat it, we know how when our condition is reached. So we use for loop here because we know we have an insight of when we are going to end our process. We are going to end our process after all the points are done, after we are finished with all the points. And we can easily calculate when we are going to, after how many numbers of trials we are going to finish these points. Did you understand why I used for loop here? Good. So the first thing to do is to calculate the number of repeats. So, as I said, I'm going to extract 3 points, 20 point pieces. So I divide the number of my input values. As you said, I need the size here because I want to calculate the number of my points. We have one row and 2,600 points. Okay, so n, value n of matrix size, will give me the number of my points. Then, if I divide this value by 20, I understand I can calculate how many times I'm going to repeat feature extraction task. Did you understand why I did this? Why I said assigned loop num as n divided by 20? Did you understand why I did this? Why I assigned loop num as n by 20, n divided by 20? Because it shows me how many 20 point pieces I have and how many times I need to repeat the task. So as I assign loop num as n divided by 20. And I said for each repeat, for each 20 point, I extract 3 features. Okay? So for my output matrix, I mean for my fit wave, my wave fit, I said, I form an initial matrix of size of zeros as zeros with size of 3 and loop num. 3 features for each repeat, for each cycle, and loop num is the number of cycles I'm going to repeat. I'm going to have. So I define my wave fit matrix as the size of 3 by loop num. Did you understand? I gave why I did this. Others? Here is the preparation for my feature extraction task. The numbers of times I'm going to extract features and the number of features and number of arranged features I have. Good. Now, I said for I from 1 till loop num. I mean that I'm going to repeat. I'm going to have loop num cycles of feature extraction. This is what controls the number of times I do the task. For I from 1 till loop num, I close n. And cycle, I'm going to select a special span of points to do my task. Am I right? Am I right? I'm going to select a special span of numbers. Now I have to match the cycle repetition to the points that I'm going to select at that cycle. Did you understand that now what I'm going to do? Did you understand what I'm going to do here? I mean, look at me. Now, for example, for point I1 at the first repetition, I'm going to select points from 1 till between 1 and 20 and do the task. For I2 at the second cycle, I'm going to select points from 21 till 40. At cycle 3, I'm going to select from 41 till 60. So for each cycle, I set a help variable and I name it as wave interval. The interval I'm going to work in that side, in this repeat. In wave of, why I set 2 points here, why I set this symbol here, is that I'm going to select all the rows and I have 1 row. I could change this plate, I could change this value with 1. It wouldn't make any change. So select the points at row 1 and columns of given interval. That's how I mapped value I to the point to the interval I wanted to select. I wanted to work on and that cycle. That's the mapping task. To assign the repeat number, the cycle number, to the points at that cycle. Now, for example, at cycle 1, I use point 1 till point 20. So, and in cycle 2, I used point 21 till 40. 21. So, 21 is equal to 20 plus 1. Am I right? 21 is equal. I'm writing here. Mathematical basics. 21 is equal to 20 plus 1. Plus 1, which is equal to 20 multiplied by 1 plus 1, which is equal to 20 multiplied by 2 minus 1. Minus 1 plus 1 plus 1. That's why I mapped the beginning of my interval to the point of 2 multiplied by I1 was minus 1 plus 1. That's how it came. And I see, for example, 40 is equal to 20 minus multiplied by 2. And here is the end of our span. Did you get it? Is it clear for others? Good. Now, in this interval, I select 3 features. Maximum, I use built-in function of MATLAB. If you type here in max, you can see here's a function of MATLAB. Minimum is the same for minimum. Again, let's check. Built-in function of MATLAB. Again, you see it appeared here. It's a built-in function. And the mean, again, is another built-in function. I calculated 3 features for the point in this interval. And now I'm going to form the feature vector of that interval. Here is the feature vector of that interval. And fit wave matrix is our feature matrix of whole data. Did you understand? Now, I'm going to attach all of them in the form of row to form a column vector. That's why I put semicolon here. Did you understand it? Why I typed it in this form, why I put semicolon between them? Did you understand? You know why? Now let's see. We have 2 variables, 3 numbers. 1 is equal to 1. Y2 is equal to 2. And Y3 is equal to 3. If I say X is equal to Y1 colon Y2 colon Y3, I get a row vector. But if I put semicolon, I get a column vector. And because I arranged my fit vector in a way that each column vector is correspondent to a piece of in each interval, I wrote it as the form of column. I could write it as the form of loop num entry and assign it as a row. I finish my for loop, and then I finish my function. It's done. Now I'm going to test the program. I expect a matrix of size of 3 by 180 as feature vector because I have 6,000 points divided by 20. Divide 360,000 by 20 and give me the number. Yield the result. What's the result? What's the result of this operation? Yeah. So we have 180 pieces of data and 3 features arranged in a column for each piece. Let's see what we get as fit wave. It's done. And if you see here, for wave fit, I mean for output variable, we have a feature matrix of 3 divided 3 by 180. Here is a simple feature extraction task done with the help of a function. You can place any feature you want here. You can do at any interval you want here, and you can do it for any continuous points. You can do it in a continuous form. You can, for example, at each point, you can take 3 points before, 3 points after. For that 7 point, you can do this task. The only difference you need to make is to assign indexes properly. And writing down on the paper is the best way to assign your indexes correctly. We have time here, and I want to show you how to do it in an element-wise manner. Sorry, I'm very out of time. I didn't get the watch. Please remind me to do this task in element-wise manner next week. Okay? As you saw here, we jumped. We extract our feature for each piece of data. Now I will tell you, next session, I will tell you how to extract features in a point-by-point manner. Okay? Is everything clear? How we did it, how we write a function, and what feature extraction task means?
Yes, doctor.
For you, it's clear, and for others? Good. So for the next session, please remind me of doing this task in a point-wise manner, and also please look at the paper I uploaded on the website. Okay? We are going to code it in the class. We are going to code a fuzzy logic process in the class. Have a good time.
I had a question also according to the purpose. Like you mean any paper that we can get from fuzzy classification, there is a way to make it like in MATLAB, there is a way to compute it.
Yeah, for some
I
of
found
them.
like quantitative integration based on T-has Q, for classification through improving the consistency of multi-hierarchical structure. I think I'm finding
you know, you have to select the paper that you think you can code, you can simulate. There are a lot of papers in them, more than the number of human beings in the world.
Yeah.
But we don't have the knowledge. We are not strong coders to code all of them. So try to select a paper that you think you can code. You have enough knowledge, so you can code.
Okay.
Did you understand?
Yeah, I got that too.
Read the paper.
Maybe when you do it, so I can get more idea, because it's like
yeah. Look at the paper, and I will do a simplified version of this in the class, so you can understand how knowledgeable you are. When you're gonna select a paper for coding, the first thing is to reading the paper and get the basic idea of it. Okay?
Yeah.
Then check if the codes for the functions are present in MATLAB. That's the trick I give you.
Okay.
Though I shouldn't have done it, but I give the trick because I want you to get
a good trick, actually. I think it will help you avoid
I want you to get good grades. I want you to get good grades.
Thank you.
So, for example, you can see a fuzzy logic, and the paper itself says I use Mamdani logic. Mamdani logic is Mamdani fuzzy system is present in MATLAB, so you can get the coding done with a higher possibility. Or for example, you see the number, you see the title, you see the name of, for example, fuzzy clustering. I'm saying hard fuzzy C means I'm going to teach you. First, look at internet to see if hard fuzzy C means is present in MATLAB itself or in scripts shared by others or not. If it's present, you can easily download and use them, or you can use MATLAB listening functions, and then you get your simulations. There's a higher possibility for you to get the simulation done. The first thing in selecting a paper is that when you read the paper, you understand what it does. It's not complicated for you. At least you have heard about the basic steps.
Yes, sir.
For example, now I haven't learned about deep learning yet, or convolutional neural networks yet. So I never select such a paper or such a process or such a task. I never select a task based on convolutional neural networks. But I select SVM, support vector machine, because I have a background of it.
Yeah. Yeah, doctor. Thank you.
Good. Have a good time. See you next session.
You too, doctor.